The goal isn't just to get a single nail into some wood, but rather to have a more functional hammer, so I obviously had to make some modifications to the original design of just cotton balls. So I decided to try a more composite approach. Since paper towels also perform pretty good in testing, I decided to put a full bottom layer and top layer of paper towel strips to help keep everything together. I stuffed the middle with cotton balls again, and I thought it'd be a good idea to lay some string down at the shaft since it was the shaft breaking that was the biggest problem. With those modifications, it was time to freeze it and try it again the next day. I woke the next day to another solid looking hammer, so my hopes were high, but that hope quickly faded after a few whacks showed an amateur carpenter's worst nightmare. The nail was starting to bend. I should have stopped right there and tried again before the damage was too great, but I foolishly tried to power through, which we all know basically never works. Unless nothing. The hammer finally broke, along with my heart, as I knew another day was needed. On the bright side though, the hammer didn't snap for quite some time and definitely withstood some higher force, meaning the string and paper towel modifications definitely helped. I was getting a bit concerned about the front of the hammer's durability, which started to wear down, so I wanted to make one special modification. I stuck with a similar lining of paper towel strips on the bottom, and since the string worked so well, I added an additional string layer to the bottom. Then I stuffed the bulk with cotton balls. I remembered from testing that the oats seemed to look pretty good from a hardness perspective, so I stuffed some oats at the front head of the hammer to hopefully make it stronger. Then I added that second string layer before closing it up with paper towel strips again. The next day, the hammer once again looked like a beast and was pretty cool with the oat tip. It was looking pretty good at the start, but the oats didn't really seem to help that much and started to splinter off. However, the nail was going down until a poor hit once again bent it, and I just pounded the bent nail into the wood sideways. The head was looking pretty damaged, but I decided it was still intact enough to try a smaller nail, so I quickly placed another in. I don't remember why I flipped the wood piece, but anyway, this time it did technically work. However, a hammer that gets completely torn up after a single use is not what I want. I made one more hammer the same way and had similar issues, including of course skill issues, which was getting quite frustrating. It didn't help that I was hammering it from far away from my body since the tripod was blocking me, but that's a pretty lame attempt at an excuse. I was almost tempted to simply end the video here with some dumb cop-out joke about how it works well with styrofoam if you don't mind the dripping, but I couldn't stomach quitting so easily on such a revolutionary technology. Luckily, in my nightmare that night, the same clip of me missing the nail played over and over in my head, which made me realize I needed to make it easier to hit the nail on the head, and that's why I decided to double down and go bigger. However, I don't own a larger hammer than this, so instead, it was mallet time. I wanted to get a bit more professional this time, so I got silicone mold-making blocks that can be clipped together. I bought 71 ounces or 1.84 liters of silicone, so any rational person would say mixing that in a cut-off 2-liter soda bottle is questionable. But I didn't convert it beforehand, so I just decided to be surprised when it didn't all fit. That was done with me, and I had to mix the rest in other cups, and this whole process was pretty annoying. After pouring the solution, I ran into the second problem that absolutely no one could have anticipated, which was that wood floats. So the hammer was floating up towards the surface and would make for a terrible ice mold. I had to act fast, so I grabbed a real hammer and hit a few nails into the scrap wood so that when I laid it on top, the nails would push down the shaft, solving the issue.